Hello, we're back on Lichess. I've just hit new bullet peak for myself, and I'm way too proud of 2591. We're going to be playing some 3-minute, because I gotta up my rating there eventually. People focus too much on rating, and I'm definitely one of those people, but it is a nice measure of progress, and when you're working hard at something, it's nice to see results. I think I'm blocking the time. Okay. Should be better. Let's play Caro-Kann. Been having fun with these. This is... okay. So against the two knights, black can play bishop g4. This is the main thing white prepares against. d4, knight e2, I think white has ample squares for their pieces, and it's not as cramping as it might look. I like knight f6 a little more, or e6, to get white out of the kind of moves they're more likely to have prepared against, like bishop g4. There's probably some obscure things to do as well that I'm not familiar with. Let's try g6. That looks like a slightly offbeat move that seems, a sensible thing to do with the bishop. Okay. I take, so they don't, keep their strong pawn center. Maybe knight f6 next, maybe knight d7, then knight f6. h3 prevents my bishop coming to g4, but I don't think I was in any rush to get there anyway, though it would apply pressure to d4. But I figure if they play c3, it's always pretty secure. I guess I'll trade a pair of knights. Treat it a little like a Rubinstein French, where f6 is the nice square for a knight. I want to trade off other knights. Bishop f5 is interesting. If they take, I take back, I play e6, and hopefully these pawns are quite strong, controlling this square and this square, two critical central squares. I have to worry about knight e5, and I have to worry about potential kind of bishop g5, the queen could get to h4 type positions. Here I can probably just move the queen out of the pin. Maybe d6. It supports an eventual queenside break if wanted. Okay, do I want to trade my bishop for the knight? I say I can probably wait on it. I think they'll play queen h5 next. I don't know how I want to deal with that, so I am going to take. Yeah. Maybe bring the queen to f6 if their queen comes in. So they were threatening rook f5, so I got my queen out of the pin because they had a pin on my queen. Okay, rook d8 seems like a useful square. Maybe king h8 and rook g8 at some point. Do I want to allow them to play a6? I don't see the problem. b6 supports c5, unless they can undermine c6 quickly, which they might be able to. So okay, a6. Let's prevent them. I'm thinking king h8 and rook g8 next. Maybe h6, king h7 gets my king a little better placed. Not sure how helpful h6 is. I think I will play h6 if they don't do something that forces the action, though. Because I think it's helpful to have this square controlled in case they play queen h5 and I want to play queen g5. Maybe it's a slight improvement. I'm not sure. White doesn't have c4 yet because the d4 pawn hangs, so they're going to defend it. I'm going to keep going with my plan. I shouldn't have too troublesome time defending. So I don't have rook d7 because f8 hangs. So I may have timed this badly. And I don't have queen e7, so I guess I have to play rook b8. So at this exact moment that was nice because I just undefended the rook, so I don't have this kind of normal response, and the queen controls my queen's potential response. Though of course queen e7 would also be met by rook f5 because of the pin. Maybe I should play queen d8 sometime soon to keep an eye on maybe a5, but also just be able to get over to defending these queenside pawns. Though I don't really see how they add a second attacker. So my question is, do I want to play rook d8 to d5 or rook g8? I think I'll start with rook g8 because I think that'll put a little more fear in my opponent. Like a little more caution, potentially. So if I play queen g7, am I invading on g3? f4 seems very weakening. You don't really want to be pushing pawns in front of the king, and if they were going to push one, probably g3 because the pawn defends. Now I have two potential entry squares, not that one, here and here. Well, with the pawn here, this is defended and there's only one. So I can check. And probably just take on f4. I don't see the problem. If queen e7, I have rook g7, and that prepares to double and defends the weakness. So I think I can do that. I quite like my king on h7 now. I'm feeling a bit better about the h6 scheme. I might have queen c1 sometimes, but I think I'll just play rook g8. If they take on b7, it is a point that when they take on c6, they defend g2. That is definitely relevant. Ooh, do I have f6? Yeah. It's the queen and the rook. And that is winning. I guess simplest is probably to take. Can I do this fancier? Let's throw in a check. See where they go, because now I could take on b2. Yeah, and their rook can't defend g2, so now I crash through. So good that I didn't just take on g2 and get their queen off. Now it's mate in a few. Nice. Okay. I want to give a quick look at that, because I thought a few interesting things happened. I don't know if g6 is a move. So bishop g4, d e4. I forgot d e4 was a move. The thing about d e4, knight e4, is black then, if they play a bishop f5, there's some really cool tricks for white, where normally they would have d4 played here instead of knight f3. And the difference is, in this kind of position, sorry, not that, knight e5, they have this knight e5 move they wouldn't have normally. Normally they'd just have h5, and now they can play queen h5, and as you can see from the computer, white's like kind of winning here. Black has to play g6 to stop mate. I suppose they can move the queen to stop mate, but like that would be a disaster. Has to play g6 to defend f7. White's best move is queen f3. The idea that after knight f6, queen b3, and they threaten f7 and b7. I do not play queen f3 there as white, because bishop c4 is so cool looking, with the idea if they take your queen, you mate them. e6, this is very good for white, but not as good as the other line. And I have won a bunch of games here when knight d7 was played, and white has knight takes f7, king takes queen e6, and mate. But black could play other moves here. So black can play knight f6, and after knight takes f6, e takes f6, d4, we transpose back into the Caro-Kann way I'd like to play it. So I should play this, I think. I should take on e4 and play knight f6. White also has this move queen e2, which my friend Ben plays, who we've seen. And I don't know what black should do here. One point is knight takes f6 is threatened, and I do not have e takes f6 in response. The standard line is knight takes, queen takes, and the one I'm familiar with is knight d7, bishop c4, knight f6, and white can play knight e5 with the point that if I take the queen, white plays checkmate. e6 is forced, and I always find this position kind of passive for black. White will retreat the queen, play d4 at some point, sometimes with c3 in preparation, though if I play bishop d6, my queen won't be on the square. And white just has a little more space and kind of active points for all their pieces. I've never liked that much. So perhaps queen d5 is better here. If white keeps on queens, I feel I'm still going to get this like slightly cramped position I'm not so comfortable with. So I would need to find a different move against queen e2. Maybe bishop g4. I do worry about knight takes f6. Maybe bishop f5. I'll have to think about this one, because I don't really know how I'm responding to the two knights. Takes e4 and knight f6 seems to work best with my repertoire, but this queen e2 move is annoying. Continuing in the game. I think I did a reasonable job trading the knights, though the computer is not loving my choices. It actually seems reasonable. Okay. I castled, c3, and here, interesting, so queen c7's been played a lot, but my bishop f5 idea, the computer quite likes. And actually this pawn structure, not so bad. White has more space, so the computer is always going to give an advantage. I tend to think in this kind of structure, if the computer is giving plus 0.8, maybe treat that more as plus 0.4, because white doesn't have these kind of clear targets or clear way of playing. Alright. Maybe d6 wasn't the best square. b6 does come with a threat, but, you know, not a huge difference. h6 as an inclusion seems plausible. I didn't really consider it, but I guess it comes with tempo now, and later I played it without tempo. So that makes sense. I don't really get rook c8. But I guess I can play for c5 because I have d5 well under control, so if I play c5, they're never advancing past. So okay. Bishop takes, knight e5. I decided to trade immediately. And that's, you know, clearly white's going to have a better game, but that seems a reasonable decision. I got my queen to f6, which apparently is good. I got worried here about a6. Okay, looks like I was reasonable. I thought h6 was better than king h8. The computer has them as the two top choices it's switching between. And then queen b4 I thought was interesting, and I have to play rook b8. But it's not so bad because they don't have any other pieces they can bring to the attack. And yeah, f4 creating a weakness that just wasn't needed. Queen h4, another way of getting at this weakness. I didn't consider that. Played queen g7. Came in. I just took a pawn. And then here, they blundered the game away. Apparently I have better moves than f6. Queen f3, I didn't consider this, but of course I have the pin and I add another piece to the pawn. The pawn can't take me because the rook's on the king, and that defends c6. Queen f3, nice move. I didn't see it. f6, straightforwardly winning tactic though. Okay, 1 for 1. Probably won't spend as long in the other games, but I am trying to figure out how the Caro-Kann works right now because I really like in the main lines playing this early knight f6 move and e takes f6. But I have to figure out, a lot of sidelines too to get it working. And that's one of those things where you study like a line in an opening and you have this experience, but it's very narrow, right? You have this experience in these very specific lines and you've thought about them and have some knowledge there, but as soon as something else happens, you just don't have it. And that's one of the great things about, playing a lot of Blitz and Bullet is you can just get in so many repetitions and so much familiarity. And I think players that don't have that familiarity are really, disadvantaged. I think f3 is useful because they're going to face so many more positions that they're unfamiliar with, while someone who plays a lot of Blitz and Bullet. Black should just leave the bishop on e6, by the way. The doubled pawns are actually quite good. A lot of times in the Najdorf, it's about control of the d5 square, and the pawn gives that control. So my opponent has mishandled this and is now down a pawn. And still potentially having trouble on f7. Yeah, they just resigned. Yeah, they have trouble defending f7. What black should do is say, this is fine, you take, you get the two bishops, but my central control is so strong it's worth it. And instead, they, resigned a few moves later. All right, 2 for 2. But I think playing Blitz and Bullet, even if you're not particularly comfortable at Blitz and Bullet, even if, Bullet's too fast for you or Blitz is too fast for you, just seeing a lot of positions in the openings you play is so valuable and means in a tournament game you're so much less likely to get positions you've never seen before. And that's so important. And it also tells you which lines people are likely to play. Black often plays knight e4 and d5 there, so I moved the bishop away in advance so that the fork trick wouldn't work. Knight g4 is thought to not be great here. It distracts my queen from the defensive d4, but c2 is already defended, and I think there's a couple things white can do here. I like to sidestep this diagonal, just play queen h4. There's a famous Nesmetanov game coming from a kind of similar line in the opening. I'm not sure it's exactly the same. But my knight comes to d5, my bishop comes to g5 usually. Okay, they're going for opposite bishops, but now they really can't defend the squares around their king, right? All these dark squares are so loose. Like if I played bishop d4 next, they have to play f6, and that already seems a pretty big concession. Maybe I can blow the game open with e5. Maybe they don't have to play it immediately, but some kind of queen h6, bishop d4, or bishop h6. And yeah, I don't really trust these kinds of positions for black. So here, if I take on e7, they take on c3. If I play bishop d4, they have e5 driving away the defender. So I think simple is c4, just keeping my pawn. If they play queen e5, I can castle. I could also castle immediately and chuck the pawn, but their queen here actually gives pretty good defense. So I think I do not want to allow them to take. Even though quite often here I think a single pawn's not going to matter, because if everything goes wrong for me here, note I'm also on a7 and e7 here. Though probably they don't have to worry about a7, because if I take, they'll have b6, entombing my bishop at some point. Okay, that seems the less important one to worry about of the pawns I'm hitting. I think I do want to take e7, because e7 is a defender of f6, and if I can come back to f6, then bishop d4 comes with huge threats. So I'm going to start by castling so they don't have e-file pressure. And then I would like to play queen f6 and bishop d4 or bishop h6. And maybe actually I should have played bishop h6, rook e8, queen f6. I thought they have rook e4 check, but maybe I just sidestep there. because now when I play queen f6, they have queen c6 maybe in reply. So where do I want to go? I'm not sure. I guess I'll start with queen f6 anyway. I think they should play queen c6. Okay. They just allow mate. They have queen e5 at the end, or after bishop h6, and I won't have mate. So instead I should play bishop d4 and win an exchange. Okay. Still completely winning position. I'm not sure queen f6 was right. I think they had queen c6 in reply, and my queen doesn't have a nice square to go to. Yeah, this is no big deal. Just don't hang mate. My rook's still on a7. Ooh, I am delighted to trade queens. That gets rid of the only risk in the position, is if I kind of hang a mate. Now I threaten rook takes b6, making it really hard to unravel if there are other rook moves. I have rook a7. Yeah. Maybe rook c6 is precise, because if I played rook a6 and they go rook c8, they might get a little counterplay. But now they don't have c-file counterplay, and I'm gonna, just win material. I guess my pawns can run. Maybe I should insert g4 so the bishop can't come to b1 and help the pawn. Yeah, I think I will. And then I'm going to start pushing my own pawns. Okay, with f5 they might be able to eventually get it there, but I'm going to start moving my pawns up. I'm in no rush. Okay, my king can defend that easily. Okay. Huh. If we screwed up. I'm going to come to b4. I think this is a little odd, but I am threatening to push my c-pawn up the board. I think I've handled this quite badly now, though. Threatening rook b8 and c8. Maybe come to a7. Ooh, bishop d5, though. Wow. I am blowing this badly. Okay. I missed that. Okay, I'm low on time. I'm going to bail out. This was a truly terrible technique. Okay, don't allow the king's infiltration on f4. I want to play rook e2 next. Come to f4, maybe play g5. I have to play quick. I handled that so badly because I was up like a pawn and the exchange. This is not good. Not a good one. Okay. I'm gonna pretend my king does anything coming up. It doesn't. But I can think about rook e7 sometimes. Alright, now I'm going to be clocked, sadly. I'm going to rook instead. Okay. Really abysmal technique. 2 for 3. Horrible game to lose. I liked rook c6. I thought I was handling this well through here. c6, a5, rook c5. Rook takes b5. I win a pawn. They get their pawn, but it shouldn't be anything. Overly clever trying to stop bishop f5, when in fact the bishop's pretty good where it is. And then c4. I should just activate my king. In fact, it's possible my king should just like run over and come to here, and then I can move the rook and have my rooks be active. That might be a good plan. Okay. Really bad technique. Really, really bad technique. 2 for 3. Sometime I should look at the Nesmetnov game that I was sort of emulating, because I think it's a very interesting one. That's another Open Sicilian. Okay, Open Sicilian. I really need to work out stuff to do against the e6 lines. We can try Maroczy. We haven't done one of those. Maybe I'm allowing bishop b4. I think I should play a3 here. I think that's supposed to be a little annoying for black, because they don't have that, you know, nice b4 square for the bishop. Okay, so they got ideas. Don't think I'm too worried. I'll gain a little space. Solidify my center. Just bring my pieces to their best squares. I don't think I want to play h3 because it gives their knight this easy outpost. So instead, just gonna slowly maneuver my pieces around. Keep an eye on b6. Okay. d5, h2 is loose. Okay, they really are lining up against it. Do I have a good way to prevent it? Can I try f4? Probably not. I could take on h4. Then d5 though, and they threaten knight g3 check. I'm curious though, I'm gonna try this. I should not have. Let's try to pester their pawns a little. They can just take an h2 with the bishop though. And then I probably have to play g4. This is going to end very badly. I was thinking in king g2 and try to escape with the king. It's good that if their bishop retreats this way, their queen can't get in. And if their bishop retreats this way, I can take bishop and control the h2 square. But they got ideas. Okay. So if takes, knight takes, king g1. I don't see the loss, so I'm going to play it. Knight anywhere, yeah. Okay, should have seen that. Alright. Evidently terrible position, but I don't think I have to resign yet. Okay, they're not grabbing material. But they've threatened knight h3 and g2. Ooh. Where can my queen go? What if I play rook h1? If queen g2, king e3, I do hit a bunch of things. Let's try this. If knight h3, I'm hoping I hit their queen well enough that I get out, but yeah, they should play knight h3, I think. I'm hoping for queen g2. After queen g2... Oh, they just take g2 and then take h1. I was thinking I had back rank threats. I can just resign this. Ooh. Another very bad one. Alright, well, let's see them make a move or two. And then I can resign. Got to work out what to do against the e6 Sicilians. There's a lot of these h-pawn pushes that I feel like shouldn't be troubling, but I definitely have trouble. Alright, have to move the king. And they can just play queen takes g2, or that, yeah. And I can resign. Okay. 2 for 4. Pretty shaky. Yeah, collapsed very easily in that one. Alright. See if we can get a plus score. I'll play sort of Grunfeldy. Go for quick c6, d5. Or Schlechter Slav, I guess, technically. But I came to these positions out of playing Grunfelds in my youth, so for me it will always be Grunfeld-ish. Can I play knight g4? So the knight's pinned. Yeah, I like that. So this is a strong diagonal. If they have to play f4, I have knight e3. So they probably have to play d4. I feel like I can take, and really leave their pawns a mess. Yeah. And probably just win one. But I might not be in any rush to take it. Interesting. Okay, I guess I'll take. Snag the pawn while I can. I was in a rush. I thought they should maybe take knight. I guess they really wanted to keep queens on. Try to activate my knight. They have bishop c6, but I figure I have the two bishops there. Probably shouldn't have allowed that. Okay. Queen b6, bishop a5 could be annoying. Maybe just queen c7, hit e5 again. I want to play knight c5, but I'm not sure where the knight goes next. Does rook d8 have a problem to bishop a5, e6, bishop moves, the knight's hit. Probably have time to save it though. So okay, rook d8. Make their queen a little awkward, though c2 is probably just an improvement. Okay. Queen b6, bishop a5 is so annoying. Because I want to play like queen b6, knight c7 or something. Because my knight's not actually so good. What about bishop d5? I'm just bringing them to play e4. I'm just like trying to improve my pieces and helping them along the way and throwing away what I had. But now I hopefully have like knight c5, knight d3 at some point. I do not want to touch this. So now my rook's locked out of the game. Ooh! These games are not going great. Okay. Do they have bishop a5 tricks? Now that the knight's on b6, they might. Cannot see a thing. So I can take on c3 and play rook d3. I need to take on e6 first. Let's take on e6 first. The f-file is going to be a problem, like hg6, queen f2. How do I cover the f-file? I don't have rook f8 because my silly bishop's on c8. Okay. Still going to have f-file problems. Possibly even worse ones. e5 forces them to spend a tempo taking, but then they're on my knight. So okay, king g8. If fg6, I think I'm just lost. f6. That doesn't seem right. The threat's f7 and then queen h8 mate. Probably have to take. It's annoying they're on my rook, but I have f7 and f8 under control at the moment. So I don't have time for queen g7 if queen f6 because the rook hangs. But I feel like I'm not too many moves away from, not resigning immediately. So if I could play like rook d8 and queen g7. Maybe on rook d8 they have a knight d6. That's cute. Or rook e8. Is there a way? Knight d7 looks insanely scary after queen f7, though they might not have a second check, but it's gotta be just so bad. Let's play rook e8 and make them find something like knight d6. Gotta go faster, of course. This is gonna be another loss. Okay. On knight takes, I will take back queen. Gotta keep some material. I do have f7 and f8 controlled. I could play knight d7 next. Try to drive them out a little. Maybe e5. Stop their bishop from having immediate access to the game if they play e5. Bishop e6. Still think we cover all the squares. Okay, I'll take a pawn because I don't know what else to do. Rook f8 looks pretty good because they get the bishop at the end. Okay, now the bishop's defended. Let's try to keep everything under control. Knight f5 coming for me. Now their pieces are a little cut off. Right, second try of the game for bishop d5. That was pinned. Fair enough. Okay. 2 for 5. Not so good. Got in a lot of trouble here. Just making a lot of aimless moves. So here I should just be up a pawn, I think. And more. Knight a6. I was right that bishop c6 wasn't a big deal, but I still should have played knight d7. Alright, was too worried about bishop a5, I guess. And then bishop d5, just giving white this big initiative for nothing. Bishop f5, it's interesting that that's so much better, that e4 is not a worry there. Why is that true? Okay, I have check. So I hit d2 at the end. And this way the rook's not blocked on d2, but that is a pretty complicated tactical justification. So instead, I should have been thinking about queen b6 and queen b5, sidestepping bishop a5 stuff, or knight b4. Okay. Just got very muddled here. Knight fd7, I could have exploited the pin faster than I did. I only saw it here, and then knight g4 was good, but then just got completely whomped after, and I must have had better defensive resources. So I can't play fe6. That was the whole position. Yeah, it's just busted now. So I have to see that e6 is terrifying and try to hold on with something like rook f8. It's also giving c5, I guess. Yeah, that gives the knight a path into the game. My knight never helped. Interesting. I thought f6 must be bad. Yeah, fg6 just looked like I have to resign. Because if hg6, queen f3, and I just can't contest the f-file, I'm just going to lose all these squares. These pawns block my pieces off from defending. So f6 gave me hope. Ooh, e5 here. And bishop e6. And we found a way to get the bishop out and are now threatening rook f8. Okay, that was the defensive resource I missed. I only considered e5 here, here, when I felt like they just take and I don't see what I do with the tempo, though it would have been the best move. But still super lost. But I did not consider it here. That's a neat defensive resource. Alright, well, there we go. 2 for 5. Not a great showing.